What's up guys, Uz here from the DC vs Marvel podcast, and this is another episode of Views from the Cave. And as you can see, I'm in the cave and these are my views. And I wanted to talk to you guys today about a new Green Lantern book, Green Lantern Legacies. It's caused a lot of controversy on the internet, as a lot of these things do, because of a particular subject that has kind of come in. And I wanted to get your guys' views on it, and I wanted to give you my views on it as well. So for those who don't know anything about it there, Green Lantern Legacy is a new comic book which kind of serves to change the origin slightly of the Green Lanterns on Earth. You have this new kid called Tam Fame, and he is the new Green Lantern. And basically, when he goes off to Oa to be trained like all the Green Lanterns do, he finds out that his grandmother Kim Tran was a Green Lantern on Earth who mentored John Stewart. Hal Jordan doesn't seem to exist in this universe, and she was apparently the greatest Green Lantern, according to another Green Lantern who is an alien queen from another planet. She tells Tam that, look, your grandma was was the greatest Green Lantern of all time. And we basically find out that Kim Tran was a grandmother who was from Vietnam. She moved to Coast City, where all the kind of Green Lanterns, are based. She moved to Coast City, and she helped a lot of people along the way. And because she helped a lot of people along the way, the Green Lantern ring chose her, right? And of course, this has caused a lot of controversy on the net. A lot of people are saying, "Oh, look, this is just pandering. They're getting rid of Hal Jordan. Hal Jordan is no longer the best Green Lantern. He was always the best Green Lantern." And I always find it funny when people are saying that, because like, you do know that Hal Jordan kind of, became parallax and basically killed all his friends and all this kind of stuff. So he's obviously, Carl Rayner is the man pretty much, right? Or Jessica Cruz, or whoever is your jam, right? Now the funny thing about this is that I'm going to come at this from a slightly different angle to the way that a lot of people are coming at it as. And the usual suspects, when they're making these videos, they're talking about, oh, this is what they're doing to our comic books. They're changing it. They're pandering to a demographic that doesn't even buy comic books there anymore. And I can, that argument is often repeated, right? And I can kind of get into that argument in the fact that, okay, I can see this might be slight pandering, but I come from it from a slightly different point of view. Okay, my first point of view is basically the writers of this Green Lantern, this new Green Lantern comic book. It's not strictly canon, so does it really matter that much? I guess not in the grand scheme of things. However, it's fun to kind of talk about. The writers of this, they are of Asian origin, and obviously what they're wanting to do is kind of put themselves in their own kind of people of their own faces in a comic book, right? Now this has good things about it and bad things about it. Now, one of the good things is obviously, you may not have been seen, people of your race may not have been seen as heroes in comic books and stuff. So you think, right, now I've got the chance to write this, I'm gonna make people who look like me be, heroes in this book, right? And that's fine. That's perfectly acceptable. It's a good thing to do, right? But the problem is that, when I was a kid, when I had comic books and I was kind of reading them and stuff like that, the whole point is that really what you're trying to look at is these guys are superheroes. These guys are, fantastical beings, right? Especially when you're looking at the Green Lantern universe, and you've got Atrocitus and Sinestro and Arcus Chummock and Saint Walker and all these kind of things. They're all very, odd, kind of out there kind of characters, right? And it's very odd to have somebody to try and think, okay, I'm going to ground this in my universe and basically make it that we control the narrative there. there now, when actually really these things are like fantastical characters. They're very, very kind of different to what we see in the normal day to day. And for me as a kid growing up, seeing Hal Jordan was a very different person to what I would see when I was growing up. Hal Jordan was this, pilot. He was flying experimental jets. It was just like he was just on this other level. He was like at that Top Gun kind of level that I would never see, and that improved the fantastical element. When you've got somebody who is an old grandmother who gets the ring, then it's kind of like we have this cartoon in the UK, well, not a cartoon, a program in the UK. It's called Super Granny, right? And it was like a comedy of basically a kid who found out his grandma was a superhero, right? And it was silly. It was a silly kind of comedy. It wasn't something that was intended to be taken seriously, much like this comic book is. And this is kind of like, if it's a parody, I totally understand, a joke parody, but because it's not, it's a strange choice of characters. Now, also, I'll come at it from another point of view. I don't give a crap about whether Hal Jordan is in it or not. What I do say, however, is that if we are talking about this kind of sphere where we're looking at, okay, well, we've got characters who should be in these these comic books or these films or whatever, right? And we want to have them representative of the normal people that people see around the world. Then why, out of everybody on the entire planet, because remember, the Green Lantern ring is basically representative, and the Green Lantern controls the sector of Earth, right? If we're looking at the sector of Earth and we're looking at this lady, Kim Tran, who is an immigrant to the United States at Coast City, why would the Green Lantern ring, out of everybody at that time, be choosing Kim Tran? Now, let's think about, okay, she came to Coast City. Let's say she was in I'm speculating at the moment because the comic book's not out, right? Obviously, this may change. This information may change when it comes out. And obviously, I'll change the narrative there when it comes more to it. But say for example, you're looking at Kim Tran. She's in her 40s, 50s, and she was about 80 odd when she died, and then the Green Lantern ring went down to her grandson, right? When you're looking at this, it's like, okay, well, say she's 50, so that's 30 years ago from now. We're looking at the 90s, right? Now, I'm thinking about stuff that happened in the world in the 90s, right? We've got the Bosnian genocide. We've got the civil war in Rwanda. We've got the civil war in the Sudan. We've got stuff going on in Cambodia. Killing fields and all this kind of stuff. And even when we're looking, around parts of Russia, you look at in Russia, you've got people who are queuing, 200, 300 meter queues to get bread, right? Now, okay, out of all of these people that you could have chosen, out of somebody who could have maybe been like, had the willpower, like, somebody who is a Bosnian child, for example, who has been in that genocide and is surviving that war, right? You have a kid who's in that, or a Somalian kid, or a Sudanese kid, or or Cambodian kid, or something like that. Instead, it's like, well, the ring is going to choose this grandma in Coast City in America. At that point, it does become pandering, and it actually becomes quite hilarious, because what you're trying to achieve is this thing of saying we're overly representative, we're representing everybody. Actually, what you're doing is you're doing the exact opposite. You're basically not representing anyone, because what in effect you're saying is that the ring will go and choose an old grandma because she was nice to people in America, rather than choosing somebody who may have survived through sheer will. Like, in Ethiopia, we would have had, around the time there, we would have had a famine, right? What kind of willpower does it require for, say, a mother who's in Ethiopia, right, to survive and to provide for her kids, and get past all the militia and all this kind of stuff? That's a really interesting story, right? To me, that's a super interesting story. And I could imagine somebody with that level of willpower around that time being given the Green Lantern ring. But an old grandma who's nice to her neighbors in Coast City is what they've chosen, because actually, like most companies, what they're trying to do is they're trying to trick you into saying we are being representative, but actually what they're being is they're trying to just put their own faces in a comic book, which is what you would do if you were 10 years old and you were given the keys to the kingdom. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think about Green Lantern Legacy and Kim Tran, etc. As the new, most powerful, greatest Green Lantern of all time. There's some information coming up which will tell you how to join in the conversation, or you can leave your comments there down below, but do not fight. Until then, guys, we'll see you again next time.